Coming up next on the Voice of Alabama Politics, data center growth. Also, will lawmakers ban Elmo? And Tommy Tuberville's team says the governor's race is already over. Is it? Not without a fight. All this and much, much more coming up next on The V. Welcome to the Voice of Alabama Politics, where we tackle the tough issues so you have the hard facts. I'm your host, Bill Britt, and as always, I'm joined by Susan Britt, research guru extraordinaire, and the incredible Josh Moon, columnist and investigative reporter at APR.
You know, I'm starting to feel bad for Susan.
I know. I have
introductions.
This, like,
I mean, it's
one moniker.
Listen, I don't feel that bad for her. I mean, everything you've said has been accurate. I am pretty incredible. Thank you.
Yes, well, you are. You both are incredible and very, very dear to me.
Mm-hmm.
I want to remind our viewers that you can catch us now on YouTube. Our footprint is growing digitally. You can also find us on TikTok, Facebook, Blue Sky. Anywhere you get your social media, we're there. And we need you to go there and like, subscribe, and just keep watching because we got more to come.
Don't forget to click those notifications too, so it'll tell you every time that we have something new up.
And we're going to be adding some new segments. We're going to be starting some new interesting things that we're doing, and we don't want you to miss a thing. Last week, we alarmed the world that, I don't know if we alarmed the world, but
We informed the world.
We informed the world that Doug Jones was running for governor of Alabama, and now we can say that he is officially filed. He filed last Monday, and he is in this race. And Josh, it seems to me that a lot of people have gotten very excited about the Jones candidacy.
Yeah, it's. I would have to say that if you were looking for a rollout to get some attention, this was handled pretty well. It got the attention of everybody that you would expect, and then some that probably you wouldn't expect. And I've heard a lot of people say, well, there are other Democrats in this race with Will Boyd and with Chad Chig Martin and some other people. But so why are they automatically skipped over? Well, they're not skipped over necessarily, but when you're talking about name ID, let's keep Ken McFeeters is also in the race on the Republican side, okay? But when we're talking about name ID and we're talking about likelihood of victory, well, listen, there's two people in the race right now. There's Tommy Tuberville and there's Doug Jones, and that's just the bottom line. When Will Boyd or Chig Martin got into this race, did the New York Times write a story about it? No. I mean, it sets up this spectacle again of Doug Jones versus Tommy Tuberville, of Doug Jones running for a higher office in Alabama after having won that Senate seat in a remarkable fashion with the entire nation watching. It's a name that a lot of people around the country know, and it's going to bring a lot of needed recognition to the Alabama Democratic Party and people up and down the ticket on the Democratic side.
And it's going to bring a lot of scrutiny, as it did with Roy Moore. It's going to bring a lot of scrutiny on Tommy Tuberville. But I think the positive thing is, Susan, is not only has the national media covered it, but all the local media has joined in. But we are hearing from folks, both Republican, independents, that normally do not vote for Democrats, saying, at least now we have a choice.
Exactly. At least now we have a choice. Because Alabama doesn't like to be told what to do. I mean, that's time immemorial. We don't like to be told what to do. And not having a challenge in this race would basically be being told, you're going to elect Tuberville.
Yeah.
Alabamians don't like that. I think it's good that we've got a race going here. Doug Jones, as opposed to Chig Martin and Will Boyd, Doug Jones has a record here. That's one of the reasons that he's getting more attention. He has a very good record. I mean, he successfully prosecuted Thomas Blanton Jr. and Bobby Frank Cherry for the 16th Street bombing. He also was successful in the 1998 Birmingham Clinic bombing and getting that prosecuted. He did enormous things in the Senate when he was there for health care, for veterans, workforce development, things like that, in the very short period of time he was there. So as opposed to any other candidates in the Democratic field or in the Republican field, he actually has a record. He has a resume walking into this.
And he has a resume, Josh, I would venture to say, that is much grander than Tommy Tuberville's, in that Tuberville didn't get a single bill passed while he was in the Senate. Doug got some 27 passed the short period he was there, and bipartisan. But the Tuberville campaign responded in the most childish fashion imaginable. And they referred to Doug Jones as Comrade Doug, and they also said that the race was already over. And when that kind of arrogance meets the hard work that Doug Jones is going to put in, it tells you something. Either that campaign has lost touch with reality, or they don't know that it's possible. He beat Roy Moore. It's possible, Josh.
Well, it's it is a level of arrogance, and it's a level of arrogance. I think they, again, Tom Tuberville doesn't live here, and so he doesn't really understand the people of the state, and so I think he doesn't really understand that a lot of people don't appreciate that level or that approach to how you're going to govern. They want you to come in. They want you to tell them what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, how you're going to help them, and to come up with an actual plan on things. And at least not resort to childish names like Comrade Doug. Like I said, I don't really even understand the Comrade Doug, and especially it seems kind of weird coming from a camp where the Tommy Tuberville, if I'm not mistaken, was criticized by Lindsey Graham for being too pro-Putin. So I don't know what it's just kind of weird. The whole thing was, but it's not unexpected. It's not unexpected. It's a campaign that's not really trying at this point. They're not really trying.
Oh, and she brought up how they had all the support from everybody that's important, and that they had the money and all this stuff. I've heard from more than one business leader who says that Tuberville's people and Tuberville comes in and basically extorts. That was the word. I've heard more than one. Extorts campaign contributions and threatens them if they don't give it. Now, Susan, we've run out of time, but think about when business owners are saying they feel like they're being extorted. I mean, what is this, a mafia campaign? But look, Tuberville's got his race to run. Let's see how it goes. And I have to leave right there. You're watching the voice of Alabama politics.
Your home is your most valuable asset. But what if someone tried to steal it from you? Property fraud is one of the fastest growing areas of fraud in the country today.
As a district attorney, I've seen firsthand the devastating effects of property fraud. That's why I'm proud to support the Montgomery County Probate Court's REACT program.
REACT is designed to protect your property and to give you peace of mind. By signing up, you'll receive an email notification if a document is filed against your property.
This program is a game changer. It has the potential to prevent fraud and protect countless homeowners throughout Montgomery County.
So don't wait. Sign up for REACT today and protect your home.
Protect your home with REACT. Sign up today.
Alabama has a hands-free driving law, and that means you can't hold your mobile phone while making a call. Oh, and no writing messages, recording, or watching videos either. Plus, you can only use a single button or swipe of a finger to answer a call. So what's a driver to do? Alabama's hands-free driving law is in effect. Follow it.
Welcome back to the voice of Alabama politics. Speaking of breaking news, this past week we broke the news that Alabama Power has told the Alabama Public Service Commission, the one that regulates energy, among other things in the state, that they would like to put, Susan, a 2-year moratorium on raising rates in the state. Now, it's a fairly complicated story, but the simple thing is that Alabama Power wants to stabilize rates for the next 2 years and build back some of the infrastructure that needs to be done, and to do the type of things that will keep rates lower for Alabama citizens. And this is a major move on their part. I mean, utilities around the country and the state, people are feeling the crunch of that, but they made the first move, and we're waiting on the Public Service Commission to tell us what they're going to do and have a hearing and figure this out.
Yeah, it seems to me like what they're trying to do is put some stability in people's lives right now, because your working families, everything with inflation and healthcare costs, and all of that is moving, and nobody knows where it's exactly going to land. But by Alabama Power doing this, they actually know that they can count on their power bills not to go up. Now, to simplify this a little bit, they're putting some of their plans on hold. Instead of going forward with some of the plans that they had, they said, I think it's, they basically said here, it seems to be better to stabilize the rates than to move forward with anything that we were planning to, do in the near future.
Josh, this is almost unheard of in the Southeast. I mean, I know we have high power rates and all that, but the high power rates are across the country. But this is a kind of an unprecedented move. And, people ask me all the time what I think of Alabama Power. We live in rural Alabama, and 25 years ago, if it came a storm, you were going to do without lights for a while.
It doesn't happen anymore.
At least it doesn't happen anymore.
Not often. Not as often.
Not as often.
Every now and then
rarely happens. But I was in what used to be the Piggly Wiggly one time, and the power went off, and people said, "What is going on?" And I went, "It's always on, baby. It's always on."
Yeah. No, listen, it's a good move by them to shore this up. They've obviously taken a lot of heat here recently for rates discussions and some of the reporting that has gone on about rates and things across the country in the comparison to Alabama. And so anything that they can do at this point to kind of stabilize those, I think, will be welcomed across the board. And I think that, there's some other things that are out there that could be done to fix this stuff. And I think that there's another problem coming along. But I would also like to point out here, there's a lot of people who get mad at Alabama Power about rates and stuff. And, these things are governed by a commission in this state. And so, if I don't know, I think maybe we're directing the anger at the wrong party a lot of times, because those things should be controlled by the people in charge of that. But I'll say too, there's an issue coming along with these data centers and the use of energy and things that go into that. And I think some folks really need to start paying attention to how those things are governed and how the power is being used, because those sorts of things drive up your energy costs as well.
Well, and I'm going to say one thing, and then I'm going to move on. We need to talk about these data centers. We know Jeff Peoples, who is the head of Alabama Power here, one of the most decent human beings I have ever met.
Long before he was ever head of Alabama
Worked
Power.
his way up through Alabama Power. He's a guy that has always worked with linemen and people in that field, that are out in the field serving the public. Now that he's the head, I feel like he's very in touch with where the customers are. But PSC president, the new commissioner, President Cynthia Lee Allman, Josh addressed that question in an opinion column in APR this week, where she staked out her ground, where she stands on these data centers. While there's growth opportunity, a business opportunity, it cannot fall on the residents, is what she said.
Yeah, no, and that's the perfect position to take on this thing. And she's right. There's a lot of growth that can happen from these data centers. Okay, they're very important for the future of where we're headed and things. But at the same time, we're going to have to do it in a manner in which the folks who are going to benefit the most from this, which are the businesses, the folks who are going to be making a lot of money, foot most of these bills. All right, if we're going to have these data centers, and that's just for the energy resources that we're talking about. That has nothing at all to do with the natural resources and how we're going to have to do better in governing those as well, that are also going to be a part of these data centers. And I hope that our folks over environmental management and some other people around this state and our lawmakers actually take an active look at this thing and really pay attention to how these things are being used, because they have the potential to upset a lot of the natural resources that we take a lot of pride in this state. And I hope we don't, like we have in the past, sell them off to the highest bidder.
Well, this is an opportunity too, in her words, for these data centers to become innovators in how they produce power for themselves, how they can manage natural resources. This is an opportunity for the legislature to partner with these businesses and find ways of better solutions in Alabama.
Well,
instead of defining what's a woman.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Because we're good at that, but we're not very good at the other stuff. And it's because other states have not done it right, is one of the big things that everybody's looking at. And it seems like the PSC, at least in this instance, is saying, look, I mean, she's not speaking for Odin or Beaker. She's speaking for herself, but she has staked out a ground where she wants these to pay for themselves and to be a benefit to the community and not a drain on the community. And I think this one plays into the other with Alabama Power, even though her statement came out long before we heard anything from Alabama Power.
Right.
But Alabama Power doesn't make these types of moves quickly, because they have to consider how this affects not only the customers, but their shareholders, because they do have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders. But let's hope that this can all come together for the betterment of Alabama. It's going to take good government leadership who pays attention, and that's the thing that I fear. But anyway, sorry about that.
Good luck.
Yeah, good luck with that. All
Don't
right,
hold your breath.
You're watching The V. We'll be right back.
Alabama has a hands-free driving law, and that means you can't hold your mobile phone while making a call. Oh, and no writing messages, recording, or watching videos either. Plus, you can only use a single button or swipe of a finger to answer a call. So what's a driver to do? Alabama's hands-free driving law is in effect. Follow it.
Welcome back to The V, the voice of Alabama politics. I have one sincere question for the politicos out there in Alabama. Are you going to have the nerve to save Elmo? Because we need Elmo. And if you start tossing Elmo off the television sets and off the computers in Alabama, there's going to be some weeping children, I can assure you. But what's going on? I thought that was a sincere approach to pull at the heartstrings, you think?
Yeah.
You know, Alabama has rarely had an opportunity to be first in anything other than football and failure. But back in 1955, Alabama was the first statewide educational entity in the country. Alabama basically invented the model for public television, and it has grown into something that, you know, we all watched as kids. We all watch during storm, or some of us watch during the storms. They educated kids during COVID. That they've done so much good, but there's been so many cuts on the federal level that we're on the verge of losing PBS, and it's still there. There's only like 70 days before the commission meets again and decides whether they are going to cut ties with public broadcast. And Susan, there's so much good there that these culture warrior numbskulls are going to ruin life for a lot of kids and adults who rely on good programming in their lives.
All of us of a certain age have all benefited from, well, some of our leaders could actually have benefited from I'm Just a Bill on Capitol Hill, but apparently they weren't paying attention. I won't name any names there. You know, Conjunction, Junction, Sesame Street teaches you, you know, language, verbs, how to be polite, how to, they use, you know, puppets to help explain things to children that it's difficult for adults to explain sometimes. I mean, I've watched so much public television when I was a kid, and I can still remember all of the jingles and all that. They still stick in my head. Now, why do you want to take that away?
Because it's woke, Josh. It's too woke. Mr. Rogers was woke. No, he was kind. Right?
Yeah. Listen, you know, I think that you probably want to keep a finger on the beat button as I get started here, because this honestly is some of the dumbest stuff I've ever. And this is not new. Okay, these are just the people who are currently in charge are bold enough and shameless enough to actually carry through with what has long been the wet dream of the bigots and the racists up and down the line, who rely on keeping people as stupid as they can possibly be to infect them with whatever sort of nonsense that they're trying to infect them with. Okay. And PBS, the educational television, has long been their number one enemy on TV, because it has taught a generation of children a number of different things, including empathy, kindness, how to accept others, you know, and that's what this is all about. Okay. This what it all boils down to. Whenever you ask anybody what's wrong with it, it's that Arthur one time showed a gay wedding on one of the cartoons, and Arthur also had a couple of gay characters on there, you know, because apparently gay people don't exist in the minds of some people. And so therefore they want to teach their children to be bigoted, racist assholes to people. And so when you do that, then that if that's your goal, then PBS is your enemy, as it is for one of the people who currently sits on our public entity that controls Alabama Public Television. Okay. So that's where we are with this right now. This has always been the goal of racists and bigots, to try to infect the people with their sort of nonsense. And PBS has stood in the way of that because of the teachings that they've had. And that's the line. That's the line. Okay. You're either on this side of it or you're on the other side of it. And there's no middle ground.
You know, I was listening to a preacher the other day, and he said, boy, if you think about it, if God made us all, we're all in God's image. Mm-hmm. When he did the wiring on us, what about the gay wiring? What about the transgender wiring? Was that just a design flaw? God just screwed it up?
They're saying God made a mistake, apparently.
I mean, and then you got to answer the question, how does God make mistakes? I mean, I don't know. I mean, you try to, maybe we just have to have faith that that's the way it is, that God really didn't mean this. But they also say, sex is a choice. Well, they're making a choice, if that's true. But the Alabama Public Library Service Commission has decided that anything that talks about anything other than two sexes is now prohibited in public libraries in Alabama, because that small group of narrow-minded people have decided that they should control the thinking of an entire generation of children, and that they want them to be created in the image of their bigoted God instead of the image of a loving God who cares about everybody, no matter who you love.
Mm-hmm. Well, they're going at the light. Go ahead, Josh. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I was just going to say, look, this. We don't even need religion in this. Okay, the library is a building that has books in it. It has all the books in it that are published, that they can get their hands on and that they can afford and that they have room for. And you can go into that library and you can select anything you want if you have a library card and check it out. And if you're a child under a certain age, then your parent should be in the library with you to help you select those books if they're that concerned about it. And that should be the extent of governing the libraries, is making sure they're funded and they can have the damn books in there. I don't understand what we're doing.
Well, it's once again part of this culture war that they think that they are wanting to build a Christian nationalist nation, and doing so by indoctrinating children. They're doing exactly what they accused the left of doing, but they're doing it through legal. They're doing it using the government, Susan.
Yeah, they are. In fact, John Wall said, well, he had like 80 respondents, to this whole crisis in the library. Well, it turns out they were people within the Republican Party trying to push the Republican Party platform into the libraries. I mean, come on, people. Wake up.
There used to be a slogan: read a banned book. It'll do you some good. But we're going to have to leave it right there. You've been watching the voice of Alabama politics. You watch us because we watch them.